All right, X is up. What's up, X? Hold on. Let's get the Facebook Live going. All good there. And all good. Rumble starts at 8. Facebook's up. Okay, we're all good. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. We'll be live for you at 6 minutes after. Say hey, Greg.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Got a good program lined up for you tonight. Quang Nguyen, Arizona Rep, House Judiciary Chair, is going to be here in the first half of the first hour. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News, be up in the second half. Catch up with both of those gentlemen. Cam Edwards for the full second hour, and third hour Classic Roundtable with Justin, Brad, and Ryan Petty. Be a fun show. Lots to cover from last week, no doubt. Will we get to all of it? Probably not, but we're going to do our best. If you guys are watching on social media, go ahead, please. Like the post, share the posts. Make sure everybody sees them. Get them out to your feeds and friends and all that good stuff. If you don't yet subscribe to Armed American Radio's podcast, make sure to do that on your favorite podcast platform and help us continue to grow the program. Guys, we'll see you at 6 minutes after live when the national radio program starts. So hang tight with us, okay? All right, guys. Be up in just a couple seconds. Right on time.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance. X Insurance. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Your week begins on Armed American Radio. Right now, it is a Sunday, being heard on hundreds of radio stations around the nation. And to all of our new affiliates, we welcome you. Thanks for tuning into the program. We appreciate each and every one of you very much. Mark Walters today, filling your prescription for freedom here in the Car Firearms Group studios on this powerful Sig Sauer microphone here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. And as you heard in the intro, it's all being brought to you by the great X Insurance. Big show for you tonight lined up. Always do. Lots to cover. Probably won't get at it. Greg in Dallas, Texas. How you doing, my brother?
Not too bad. Here we are, Sunday night.
Sunday gun day, fun day, baby. It's pretty fun, isn't it? I love my Sundays. I really do love my Sundays. All right, Greg, you tell people where to get started, where to start watching us on all the social media platforms and all that fun stuff. I'll just get this out of the way now. You can watch us on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. We're busting out live there for you. You can watch us there every single day, 6 days a week on the Daily Defense and, of course, this program. And, Greg, take it away.
Yeah, sure. If you can also watch us on Rumble and YouTube. If you do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters over on X, it's at AAR Mark. If you want to join the live chat, download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, we're going to jump in that live chat for everybody right now, too. Say hey to everybody in the chat room, all the chat room warriors. Welcome in. All right, guys, line up today. Quang Nguyen from Arizona will be here in just a quick second, followed by AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. After that, we've got Cam Edwards for a solid hour in the second hour of the broadcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And, of course, a classic Armed American Radio roundtable with Brad Primo, CEO of Lead Slingers, Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms, and, of course, Ryan Petty, Parkland father, now taking the reins in the absence of Neil McCabe. Let's get started. Quang Nguyen, Arizona State House Rep and House Judiciary Chair. My good friend, I love you, brother. Always great to have you here. We refer to you on this program as the Shredder, baby. Welcome in, Quang. How you doing, man?
Well, thank you, my brother. Love you, too. Hey, by the way, we got a special guest listening from Arizona today, and it's Michael N. Fanzen of AZCDL.
Oh, nice. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Love AZCDL.
Yeah, so we were hanging out, and Michael and AZCDL actually was kind enough to give me an invitation along with Senator Frank Carroll, Senator Livingston and his son, and former Speaker Pro Tem Travis Grantham apparently is running for CD5 to replace Andy Biggs, and Andy Biggs, who is currently running for governor of Arizona. So we're all kind of related, a bunch of guys. Not only we support the Second Amendment, but we're actually out on the floor fighting for the preservation of the Second Amendment. So I want to thank Michael for helping out.
Yeah, I'm a longtime life member over there at AZCDL. Love those guys. I've spoken at a number of their luncheons and some of the AZCDL, well, not just AZCDL, of course, they're always there, but some of the functions out on the state capitol and all that fun stuff. Love my Arizona. Miss it every single day. Wish I was there with you. Quang, Arizona, what's going on out there now? Is your shredder working? Is it on overload? Is it burning up? Do you need a new one? I'll be more than happy to pitch in.
Yeah, so we wore mine out this session. The session is nearly over because we're all working on a budget right now. So budget time, constitutionally, we are required to have a balanced budget. And it's going to happen. Well, it's going to be a conservative budget, and we're hoping that we can stick it to, Governor Hobbs a little bit for misspending money left and right. But we're going to have a conservative budget like we have in the last 3 years or so. And it's going to be an all-out, gloves-off kind of fight. You know what I mean, Mark?
Well, I know you'll take the gloves off, and I know you'll fight, and I know you'll win. But Arizona, gun-friendly as it is, has a razor-thin majority on the Republican side. It's losable there. And I want to make that clear. I don't want
Yeah.
anybody getting complacent, but it's losable there, is it not?
Yeah, but we're just FYI, Mark. We're good for another year. As long as I'm going to be there as the chairman, and I expect to return next session as the chairman, and so we're good to go. It's just a matter of recognizing what is coming down the pipe and how to anticipate fighting it. And we want to make sure. I'm at the point where I actually ignore the press now, completely ignoring the press when they attack me on not hearing anti-gun bills. And so, I'm just going to keep doing it until people decide to get me out of office. But for now, we're good for another year.
What's your standard response to the media when they attack you for not hearing anti-gun bills? Do you have a one-size-fits-all response, Kwong, for those morons?
Yeah, so, I resorted to a point where I just not say anything at all. As a matter of fact, a couple
Smart
of days
move.
ago, I sent you a video of me defending Wendy Rogers and also Gowan Bill on the floor. I think I sent you one video clip of it. But for the most part, I just stay quiet because it's sort of like, you're not educating anybody. You're just beating your head against a brick wall. And at some point in time, I'm going to be equally stupid if I keep fighting them and so I just let it go. I'm always on the winning side because we have the majority and their bills are being killed. So to me, winning is a win, and I just feel like I don't need to respond anymore.
That's a good move. How many anti-gun bills showed up at the Arizona legislature this year that you killed? Because I know that part's over. When is your session over?
Whenever we have the budget done, which is the latest time would be June 30th, because the new fiscal year is July 1st. And so up to date, according to AZCDL, I killed 20 of them.
Okay.
Which is a smaller number than last year. I think last year was 30 or 34. So they're calming down just a little bit because they know I'm sitting in that chair. So, we'll see what happens. I hope to be able. I got one more term in the House of Representatives in 27 and 28, and hopefully I'll be back and stay in that chair for another couple of years and trying to groom somebody who could, hopefully leadership would listen to me and have that person replace me as I'm leaving.
I suspect the other side will spend a lot of money to try to oust you as chair.
Legislative District 1 is R plus 30, so always going to be red. Now, red or not, it depends on the person taking the seat, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody replacing me, that person may not be assigned to the Judiciary Committee or even be appointed as chair. So we just have to work on the floor to see who is going to be as geeky as me studying the Second Amendment and who's willing to jump in my seat and not respond to the media and not worry about being attacked by the media.
How is that going to be a tough job? I mean, look, politicians love to talk, brother. Okay, is it going to be tough to find another you? Let me just ask it that way. I think it will be.
I think I don't think it's going to be tough. So Michael in Fanzine will tell you I don't speak a lot on the floor. I just like to do things, and so it's important to find somebody that actually spends Saturday and Sunday reading on Second Amendment update, the latest news.
Yeah.
And I'm a little geeky there. So hopefully we'll find a Republican who sort of do the same thing that I do on the weekends and being on the radio with you. I think we can find them. I think just about anybody can replace me, right? So I'm replaceable. It's just how much homework the person is willing to put in order to get the job done right and not be fooled by some really nice Second Amendment bill. Oh yes, this is we're going to introduce this for the kids and we're going to introduce this to make society better. We need to worry about those people. That's all.
Well, I know we're going to take a break here in a minute, but I'm going to see if I can pull up that audio. I should have done that beforehand because Kwong sent me, ladies and gentlemen, a great piece of audio of him speaking on the floor about his history. He knows a little bit about this, and he answers the question on the floor as to why you are so adamant about protecting the Second Amendment. And I think it drives it home. At the very worst, Kwong, I can do old school stuff and hold my phone up with that audio to the microphone. I'm not going to have enough time to get it over production to Greg right now. I should have done that earlier. Didn't even think about it until you just mentioned it. But before we
30?
go, we've got 30 seconds. Well, let me just take us to the break. I'm going to have to cut you off at that point. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in Armed American Radio here. You're just beginning the show with us. We've got 2 hours and 45 minutes to go. We have another segment with Quang Nguyen. When we get back at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to play that audio from the floor. And then I'm going to ask him what the dopiest bill he has seen is from the Democrats. And I don't know the answer to that question, but I will probably crack a smile because as A.W.R. Hawkins and Alan Gottlieb and all of us will tell you, their creativity on the other side knows no boundaries. We're talking with Arizona State Representative and the House Judiciary Chair, Quang Nguyen. When we come back, we've got him for another segment. And then A.W.R. Hawkins from Breitbart News will be here. Don't go away. Great program lined up for you.
10.
Colorado is also on the ballot. We'll be talking about that also. We'll be right back. following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back. Yeah, patriotmobile.com, ladies and gentlemen, the real deal, the real deal. If you're watching me, you can see this phone here. This is a Patriot Mobile phone activated. This is a Patriot Mobile phone activated over yonder there. We say that south of the Mason-Dixon line. Over yonder, down yonder, you know how it is. Up over in there. That's patriotmobile.com, patriotmobile.com/AAR, and you will get a free month by signing up over there. And, you know, again, I asked this question. When you've got a company that big that's growing that fast, that supports your gun rights, supports your conservative values, why would you keep giving your money to a big woke company that uses your money against you? And they will never stop. It's just the way it is. They might talk a new game with Trump in office. Nah, they're still supporting causes you don't support underneath you and behind your back and everything else. Make sure to check out patriotmobile.com, patriotmobile.com. Coming up the NRA convention in Atlanta, I will be with Patriot Mobile doing some taped interviews with those guys over there. They're wonderful. patriotmobile.com. And you can find all of our great partners. We'll talk more about them throughout the program at armedamericanradio.com. Kwong, welcome back in. I do want to say this. AWR Hawkins cannot make it. He just notified me, so we're going to keep you for the hour. What some of the things we were going to cover with him, we'll cover with you. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, Andy Hoosier will be sitting in the chair for me as I will be spending the day in a courtroom. So all good. And if I can make it back in time, I will be here as a guest or co-host with Andy Hoosier. Either way, you've got Andy solo or me and Andy tomorrow on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, 4 to 5 Eastern, 1 to 2 Pacific. Kwong, welcome back in, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I've got this audio.
Happy to stay for the hour.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you, man. I want you to set up this audio that I'm going to play here, because it's you on the floor reminding people of your history and why you are so steadfast in your support for the Second Amendment. Can you tell us? Can you give us just a little heads up about what this is about and how this came to be?
So yeah, I'm glad you're asking me to set this one up, because Representative Marquez, who is currently still serving in the Army, or either Reserve or National Guards, I'm not sure, but every single speech he makes on the floor, he is obviously an anti-gun, nutcase Democrat. And every single time he'll stand there and he'll tell you, I serve in the Army, I am well trained, nobody else should have a gun because in the Army we train people and the rest of you are just peasant and you don't deserve to have a gun to defend yourself. And that's why you're going to hear what you're going to hear from me. And I just had enough of it, so I stood up and talked about it.
All right, I don't want to point out that there's probably 150 million plus of us that own guns. Has that not sunk into him?
No, absolutely not. And the speech, as a matter of fact, I joke with fans and all the time. You know, if he says it one more time, I think I'm going to, never mind. I can't say it on the radio.
Yeah, FCC friendly, right?
Exactly. He does the same speech. We're trained, we're professional soldiers, and we're simply just better than you.
All right, that's arrogance. How many bills has he sent you? Any anti-gun bills that you've shredded?
Oh, a load up. I can name a few here.
Give me an example.
You asked me, but if you ask me for my favorite one, it's duty to retreat. It's great because if somebody breaks into your house, you're supposed to run and hide. You know, forget the Castro Doctrine. Forget the right to defend yourself at all, and it's all gone. Additional background checks requires firearms to be locked up. I love that one. That one comes up like 5 straight years for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ban AR-15s, ban Glock switch, ban magazine with more than 10 rounds. Where do I go from here, right? But duty to retreat will get rid of the Castro Doctrine and also stand your ground. And that pretty much is my favorite one from Representative Marquez.
All right. But he's going to continue trying. And I think that's the bigger point. Ladies and gentlemen, they never stop. They're playing the long game. They will continue to try.
Yeah. Yes, sir. They will continue to try, and I will continue to make them cry. I do make them cry with a straight face.
All right. Well, let's play a little bit of this video in response to, what's the representative's name again?
Marquez.
All right, here we go. Let's play this.
Opening statement.
Greg, if you can push this up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Time and time again, we keep hearing about service members going to war. And sometimes we forget the people like me actually lived through the entire war. As a matter of fact, April marks the 50th anniversary of why I lost my country, and I lost my freedom. And I'll tell you why I lost my freedom, sir. Because all the bad guys had guns, and all the good guys didn't have enough guns. And with that, I encourage people to continue to support the Second Amendment and support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kwong, give us a backstory there, if you would, a little bit about your history. You're talking about Vietnam. Tell us that story again. Important.
Yeah, so it's kind of strange that this is the month of April, but April 30th, 50 years ago, we have an event called the Fall of Saigon, and that is after 20 years of war against communism, and after the United States or the 93rd Congress decided to not honor the Paris Peace Accords, pulling back and defund the Cambodian and the Vietnam campaigns. And that's the reason why you have 2 million people killed in Cambodia in the killing fields, and 85,000 or so South Vietnamese soldiers executed right after the fall of Saigon. And that was my history. I was born in 1962. The escalation started in 1965, and I lived through all the way until the very end. And so when people like Marquez standing up and said, you shouldn't have guns, and we're the only ones who went to boot camp and was trained in the Army, and we're the only ones who can actually, should have guns to defend ourselves. And the rest of us, this is what happened. This is what happened in World War II. This is what's happening, what was happening in Vietnam, Cambodia, and what's happening in Afghanistan. You see, it's a constant reminder that if you don't have your firearms, and I'm so glad I came to a nation where we actually have one of the Bill of Rights called the Second Amendment, where you have rights to own firearms and to defend yourself. And I'm so glad to be a member of, to be an American citizen. And that's pretty much the background. And I'm trying to keep it pretty quiet. I don't want to wear people out. But every time I hear Marquez talking about people like you and me and our audience shouldn't have firearms to defend ourselves because we're just not well trained, I guarantee you I am more well trained than Mr. Marquez any day of the week, any time, 24/7, 365.
Kwong, has he, I don't know the answer to this question, and I don't know if you do or not, but I want to ask it, and it's impossible to get into the guy's head. But has he never been to the Ben Avery Range outside Phoenix? Has the guy never been to the Scottsdale Gun Club? Has he never been to any civilian training course whatsoever? Now, we're getting ready to take a break, so I'll continue to ask these questions. Not rhetorically. I want you to respond to these. But is the guy unaware of how many millions of Americans take professional level training every single year? Is he not aware of what you just said? Hold that thought, because we're taking a break.
Yes,
so when we come back from the break, let's jump on that. And then I want to ask you, what is it that triggers a guy like this, right? Let's try to get in his head because it's fun to talk about. Then we'll talk about Colorado and some of the stories that AWR has written over at Breitbart News. We'll cover some of those for you, ladies and gentlemen. Kwong Nguyen, Arizona State Representative, House Judiciary Chairman, stays with us for the next half hour. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away on the other side of the break.
it's Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker, and you're tuned into the Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
Yeah, we love Andy Hoosier. Thanks for the rejoin, Andy Hoosier. KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker. You got a great one there in Andy Hoosier, and we love you at KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker. You're tuned in right now. Thanks for being here with us, and welcome back to the 6 Hour microphone here, Carr Firearms Group Studios. Patriot Mobile Communication Command Center. Make sure to check out all of our partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. That includes ammosquared.com. Are you getting an email on Wednesdays like I do saying you've got ammo? That's a beautiful thing. That's a lot of fun. And it comes in every single Wednesday, and you think, man, it's going to take forever. No. I've got thousands of rounds of ammunition stacking over there, and I can't bring myself to ship any of it because I'm loving watching it stack. Eventually, it'll be 10,000 rounds of ammo. It's like a 401k for ammo being housed in their warehouse. They will ship it to you the moment you want it, as much of it as you want. And for some reason, if you don't want it anymore, well, they'll give you all your money back on the spot. So you've been saving money in the process as well. So make sure to check out ammosquared.com, ammosquared.com. And all of the specials going on at budsgunshop.com are exclusive online retailer, budsgunshop.com, budsgunshop.com. More about them later in the broadcast and the rest of our partners. Again, you can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Kwong, welcome back in, brother. It is always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. So what is it?
Here.
What is it? I mean, has this guy never been to the Ben Avery range? I mean, I'm getting a little specific. Does he not train with civilians? Is he above all of us? Okay for me, not for thee? Does he not understand what goes on at the Scottsdale Gun Club? I mentioned those two because those are two wildly popular places, not to mention anywhere in the desert in Arizona, where I have shot countless times, thousands and thousands of people exercising their rights just in Arizona alone. Does this guy not get it? Marquez, that his name? Does he not understand that?
So, I've been in office since 21, and I have to tell you, I came to the conclusion that if I say A, they have to say B.
Yeah.
If I said B, they have to say C. These are talking points, right? Mm-hmm. Now he's an Army officer. I appreciate his service, but that doesn't. I think at some point in time he forgot that when he was sworn in, when he was commissioned, that he was sworn in to protect and defend the Constitution. And for some reason, he'll defend the Constitution except for that one Second Amendment. I'm not sure the mentality of those people, and I'll say those people, not just Marquez.
Yeah.
If you look at the 27 Democrats on the floor, every one of them think the exact same way. Yeah. That we shouldn't have guns. We don't deserve to have guns. And if we have guns, we must lock them up.
You know, Kwong, I don't know if they think the same way or if they're... See, these are ideologues, okay? They put agenda above and politics and power above anything else. Many of them are probably gun owners themselves, but it doesn't matter because it's agenda-driven politics above everything else, period. That's what the Democrats do. It doesn't matter. They know it's a right. They know it's a constitutional right. Like you said, if you say A, they say B. If you say C, they say D. Doesn't matter, which is more proof that they are ideologues putting agenda over the will of the people, particularly in a great state like Arizona that is so gun-friendly. And again, this is why I repeat that they're in this for the long game. They couldn't care less. He doesn't care about the oath he took. How can I say that? Because of what he's trying to do with your gun rights, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a blanket statement. It's a fact. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing it, and he's not alone, sadly.
And you know what, Mark? I see that as actually a disease. I don't believe it's curable. These people have diseases, and it's amazing how they can say. Now, let me editorialize my comment here for a little bit. Whenever Marquez stands on the floor to talk about his service in the Army, it seems like it's almost intimidating for some of the representatives to stand up and fight back because, hey, this is going to be tough because he served in the Army and I did not, so therefore I, just kind of leave him alone. Now, I'm on the opposite camp.
Yeah, no, too bad.
I appreciate your service, but you want to know, being wrong is still wrong. And so they need to be called out. So I'm one of those guys who are not quite intimidated by stuff like that. And, my daughter is serving. I wasn't serving, but my daughter is. And believe it or not, parents with children who serve in the military put out quite a bit of sacrifice as well. And so, no, he's not the lone guy serving in the Army, somehow well-trained. But, I will say this, though. I got a message texted to me by Michael Intenzen just now, and I'm not going to criticize anybody, but since Michael served in the Marine Corps, he can. He said, Army Intel officer, not a door kicker. And my reply was, I'm not going to criticize him because he served. And his reply was, I can.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Michael's right. Look, just because you didn't serve, I didn't serve either. There's reasons I didn't, but that's none of his damn business. That doesn't mean I can't criticize him.
No, I'm not
criticize him all day long.
Criticize him on his stance on the Second Amendment.
Sure.
But I'm not going to criticize him of the fact that he's an Army Intel officer, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, not at all. Tim Waltz served. Tim Waltz is a clown buffoon.
Exactly.
Let's not even throw the stolen valor out there about Tim Waltz either.
Oh, yeah.
These guys hide behind that. A lot of these zealots hide behind that. All right, I don't have time to go into, but I don't know if you saw the video of the fishing boat, a charter guy screaming and yelling that boarded the kid's boat in Florida. I served, and as if that's some excuse. Well, the guy's now looking down 20 years because of what he did to that kid. Yeah, it's an excuse, and none of that bothers me. I couldn't care less about that. I applaud him for serving. That's where it stops. Good for you. Now you want to come after my rights. Now we're in the arena together. Okay? Now it's gladiatorial combat.
When it comes to my gun rights, I spare no one.
Right. Nor should you.
And I have, exactly. But to answer your question, I don't know if you've ever been to a range. I have a doubt that this guy has ever been to a gun range because of how radical he is. And I don't know what's inside his safe or whatever it is that he has in there. But the point is, these guys are so radical. They run and win in the super blue district. And then they have to prove to everyone in their district that, I am an anti-gun. I'm going to make sure everyone will have to turn in their firearms. And that's just the way they are. So I don't have an answer to why they think the way they do.
Yeah, it's impossible to get in their heads. Again, when you're dealing with an ideologue like that, it's best to just walk away. Now, has anybody ever said, hey, why don't you come to the range with me, Representative Marquez?
I think I think at one time or another, we all invite these guys. As a matter of fact, I can tell you one of the representatives that I personally invited, she actually said to me, she said, Kwong, would you be able to help me out on the gun range? Sure. And I said, of course. I teach, firearm safety and CCW. Of course I can. And she said, well, we just got to make sure that we don't have photos of you and me shooting.
There's the ideologue. There's the political agenda being put first. That's the agenda being put first. I'm going to go have fun. I love my guns, but I can't let my colleagues see me enjoying my guns because then I'm outed as a hypocrite and I can't piss off my party. Unbelievable. Kwong, we're getting ready to take
with the Republican.
Yeah, that's an embarrassment too. I mean, Bill Maher's catching a lot of flack from a bunch of dopey leftists because he had dinner with Trump. I mean, that's the ideologue. How dare you have dinner with the president and try to open a dialogue and find some common ground? Unbelievable. I applaud Bill Maher for that, by the way. I really, truly do. That's likely going to come up in the roundtable, ladies and gentlemen. All right, just a few more seconds. We will get to some of these stories from AWR's pieces over at Breitbart right now with Kwong, because he's going to want to talk about some of them, and I'm sure he has an opinion. One more segment to go with Kwong. We'll be right back, guys.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Thanks for that rejoin, Mike Gallagher. Appreciate it very much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's first hour is about to be in the rearview mirror. It flies right by. Make sure you buckle in. Tell you that every single week because it's true. It flies right by. Make sure to check us out on all the social media platforms. If you don't yet subscribe to the podcast, please do and never miss an episode of this still rapidly growing broadcast. We've got a number of new stations tuned in, too many to mention right now. You know who you are. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much, and welcome to new listeners around the country. Great to have you here in multiple states on those new listeners, those new platforms. We love you guys. Welcome back in. 6 Hour Mike fired up. Car Arms Studios lit up for you. The big on-air sign is flashing in front of the studio right now. And, of course, Patriot Mobile is bringing it all to you as we speak. Quang Nguyen, Arizona State House Rep and House Judiciary Chair in the great state of Arizona, rejoins us. Quang, always a pleasure, brother. I'll let you finish your thought, and then we'll move on to some stories from AWR, cover some of these breaking news stories.
Well, let me just say this. There's no more point arguing with the left side. I mean, I gave it up, and that's fine. We're going to continue to protest, to defend the Second Amendment and protest by killing their bills. So let me just say this. If I have an opportunity, if I'm honored enough to have the support to come back in 27 and 28, I promise you, with a Republican governor, we will recover everything that we lost, with pertaining to our right to keep and bear arms. And so I don't want to say the word expand because 27 words, we're not expanding anything. We're going to try to get back what was stolen from us.
Regain.
And I promise you that.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Regain
yes, sir.
Regain is the word. Let me, I'm going to go over to AWR's pieces here, a couple of them in particular. AWR wrote about Mike Bloomberg, affiliated gun groups, spending 10 million bones, which is chump change to him. That's walking around pocket money to Bloomberg, which would be kind of cool, wouldn't it, ladies and gentlemen, to have that kind of pocket money? It would, you know it. But he's doing it, again, for nefarious reasons, to secure state attorneys generals who will fight Donald Trump. Now, we're talking about Everytown for Gun Safety is the big one here. But Bloomberg is dedicating 10 million bones to Everytown for Gun Safety, which is Everytown for Gun Control, to elect Democrat attorneys general who will fight Donald Trump on his 2A issues. Now, 7 things, and the NRA reported 7 things, and I think it's pertinent we mention these right now, that Trump has done in support of the Second Amendment since he's been in office. Number 1, a review of all of Biden's actions, anti-gun. Number 2, an end to the ATF zero-tolerance policy already. Number 4, HHS and guns. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has removed advisors that were previously treating guns as a quote-unquote public health issue. Number 5, bringing more freedom to D.C. How's he doing that? He's got a D.C. Safe and Beautiful task force, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think we've talked about that here on the show. We should have. I apologize. But it's fostering coordination between federal and local authorities, and some of its responsibilities include collaborating with, quoting now, with appropriate local government entities in D.C. to provide assistance to increase the speed and lower the cost of processing concealed carry license requests in the District of Columbia, which is a great thing. Everybody remembers the book Emily Gets Her Gun, right? We go back after the Heller decision. A nightmare to get a permit in Washington, D.C., Kwong. Also challenging local licensing bureaus around the country. We know what's going on in L.A. We have talked about that. And even Hollywood. Mel Gibson got his gun rights back. Now, NRA mentioned it as Hollywood. It's more than just Hollywood. But Trump administration named Gibson, along with actors Sylvester Stallone and Jon Voight, as special ambassadors to Hollywood to help foster a better gun attitude, pro-gun attitude in the glitter city of loser bags out there. But at least they're making those right moves, Kwong. I mean, I'm going to assume that you appreciate these moves so far by Trump.
Oh, absolutely. Anything we can do to help out the little state guys like me is tremendous. And I think you mentioned the Second Amendment task force. I believe Pam Bondi is going to be the chair of that. Am I correct?
You are, and I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to go there next, so let's just segue over there. I mean, this is something else that happened since we talked. There's a tremendous amount of movement here. At first, we were talking about, why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening? Well, when you look, he's been in office less than 5 months. And we're already able to rattle these things off. Yeah, we won everything yesterday. But if you look back honestly, Kwong and ladies and gentlemen, and look over your rearview mirror, over your shoulder, wow, things have been moving fairly quickly. Maybe we should give him
right. And
room here, right?
we should also allow those people like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi a little bit more time to fix things. And I'm sure it's pretty deep rooted in terms of anti-guns with so many unelected officials working in those agencies. So we need to give him just a little bit of more room. But that being said, I'm not going to give him forever. For example, vendor stock. All you got to do is get rid of that one rule, and you neutralize vendor stock, right? I'm still upset about that. You know that,
of course.
And so we little guys out here, we need every bit of help, and it's happening. It's happening. I am so looking forward to reciprocity with all 50 states. And so I'm just excited a lot. But once again, we have to maintain majority in the state of Arizona. We need federal help, but we need to maintain majority in Arizona. We need people to continue to vote for Republicans.
Exactly.
And we need to select the Republicans that actually do the work when it comes to the Second Amendment. And I think that's really up to a lot of activists like you or InFans or a lot of people that you mentioned. The Second Amendment Foundation, ASRPA. We need all those you guys to help find the right people to put on the ballot so that I can help support those members or future members so that I can strengthen what is happening, at the state of Arizona. So I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm kind of nervous because I don't know who's coming up in 2026. I don't know about my governor. I don't know anything going on. I have a Democrat, AG, who actually kind of stay away from the Second Amendment so far. So far in her 2 years, she didn't do anything to try to damage the Second Amendment. Part of it is I think she understands that it doesn't do any good when you have the Republican majority in both chambers.
Yeah,
and
not
so
in Arizona. She's not going to do herself
now.
any favor. Not going to do herself any favors by going after Second Amendment in the great state of Arizona. And, Kash Patel has been replaced over at ATF now with Army Secretary Dan Driscoll. I don't know much about Dan Driscoll, but we'll be following that over the coming days, weeks, and months ahead because we want to see those rules, as you're talking about, changed immediately. Now, Kash had already mentioned that he was going to do that, but I didn't see Vanderstock on that list. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It just means I didn't see it on the list. Kwong, thank you, brother, for being
every single rule. Get rid of it. Yeah,
just get rid of it. Yeah, and there goes the case is moot, right? Kwong, thank you for being here, brother, and thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for shredding everything the Democrat gun haters put across your desk. You are truly doing God's work in the great state of Arizona. That's Quang Nguyen, everybody. He is, of course, Arizona State Representative Quang Nguyen, District 1, and he is also the House Judiciary Chair, and he's got that huge paper shredder, and if he needs a new one because he's burning it out, well, we'll just go ahead and help him out and get him a new one because we love his efforts over there. I know you wish you had somebody like that running in your district, and many of you do, by the way. There are lots out there, but he is truly a national treasure. When we come back, another national treasure. Cam Edwards will be here. We are going to cover a ton of ground with Cam, as we always do. Cam Edwards from BearingArms.com over at Town Hall. You know him from Cam and Company. He's been around forever. Looking forward to seeing him at NRA in just a couple of weeks in Atlanta, Georgia. And until we meet in the next hour, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. We'll see you on the flip side, 6 minutes after the hour. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance. X Insurance. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hour 2 underway, hour 1 in the rearview mirror. Buckle in, it flies right by. Always does. Welcome inside the Car Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day right here in these studios. And it's always fun to be on the 6 Hour microphone here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch with you. It's all brought to you by the great X Insurance. Greg in Dallas, Tejas, how you doing, my brother?
Not too bad. Zoom, hour 2. Here we are.
Buckle down, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move right along, being heard on hundreds of radio stations across the nation. You can watch us on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio and participate. Like, share, please. If you're not a subscriber to Armed American Radio podcast, change that. Do that. Become one of those 21 million downloads. Well, we love that. 16 years, April 26th, in 13 days. Greg, reminder, marks our 16th anniversary on the airwaves, and we have never missed a Sunday show. 800-plus Sundays in a row. That's a remarkable run. Very, very proud of that. Greg, you can tell people where to watch on all the other platforms and participate in the chat and all that good stuff. We'll get going with Cam Edwards from BearingArms.com and Cam & Company.
Sure, if you want to watch the show, just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters over on Rumble and YouTube. On X, it's at AAR Mark. To join the live chat, download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
I've been waiting to do this. I hold up this, because I got Notepad here in front of me, ladies and gentlemen. You can see, I'll hold this up from the camera. I got all kinds of cool. So I got notes and notes and notes. I've been doing show prep all day long. Here's my show prep for Cam Edwards today. Hold that up. It's blank because I don't need it when it comes to Cam. It just is what it is because he's that good. Cam Edwards from Bearing Arms, townhall.com, Cam & Company, all that fun stuff. I just held up a blank notebook, Cam, because I don't need that prep with you. We know what we're doing here together, man. You ready to get started? Holy crap, there's so much going on, brother.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's about as much show prep as I've done here. So, yeah, let's talk, Mark.
So you mean you didn't spend 2 or 3 hours getting ready for the show today, Cam? Come on.
Well, I feel like I spend like 45 hours a week getting ready for these appearances. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I won't. I'll even the score here because I don't do any for you either on Cam & Company when we're together on the show. It just kind of comes out of us, and that's what I love about you, man. It's just so fun. You bring the best in everybody out, myself included. I love having you on the broadcast. It's so fun. Now, I will see you in Atlanta, right?
Yes, you will.
All right,
I am very much looking forward.
Now,
a little bit less.
Yeah. Now, somewhere else you're going to be, too, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to be at Lexington Green in Concord coming up on April 19th in 6 days, right, for the event that Carrie Leclerc and Gold Gun Owners Action League is putting on?
That's right. Yeah, very excited to be there. I mean, you think about what that day means in history, and I was 2 years old when we celebrated the bicentennial, so I don't remember any of it. So, I mean, honestly, Mark, I've been looking forward to these things ever since I was a, little history nerd in elementary school, like thinking about what's it going to be for the 250th. So, I'm really excited to be up there. The Gold event's going to be in Boxborough. You can find out more information. Go to gold.org/250, I believe is the website. Yes. Just gold.org for sure. You can find out information there. And, yeah, I mean, Adam Kraut from Second Amendment Foundation is going to be there. Doug Hamlin, EVP of National Rifle Association. Dick Heller, Alan West. It's going to be a great lineup. And, just to kind of be on that hallowed ground on that day, I think it's going to be really special.
Have you been there before?
I have. Actually, I was born in Massachusetts.
Oh.
So, I back in, grew up in Oklahoma, but born in Massachusetts.
I thought you were going to tell me that you were 2 back in the day, 250 years ago. I can tell you, you're not that old, brother. I'm older than you, so let's not go there, okay? That's going to be a great event. And, besides that, April 19th, even more important than that date, it is my wife's birthday. I can't ever forget that, and she is not 250 years old, thank goodness. That's a good thing. But yeah, we'll be reminded of that. All right, Cam. So look, there's so many places to go with you right now. Can we start with Colorado, please? Oh, what a mess.
Oh, yeah, I think we have to.
Golly, man. And you've written about it, and it's all over on bearingarms.com, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't written or haven't read anything that Cam and Tom and everybody has been following up on Colorado, you're listening on a number of radio stations right now. Our hearts go out to you. We'll try to get some answers from Cam as to what you can do here. But this is a mess, Cam. This is probably this. I don't know. Am I wrong in saying that this is the most anti-gun state bill ever put forth in American history? Would I be wrong in that assessment?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. Okay. I'll give you one caveat. I think the only one that's worse is in New Mexico right now. But that was what is currently, and again, we don't know if the governor of New Mexico is going to call for a special session. Yeah. The semi-auto ban died in the regular session, but it was like the original version of SB 3 in Colorado, right? I mean, remember SB 3 got amended, so it started out as a just flat-out ban on semi-automatic firearms that were semi-automatic long guns that could accept a detachable magazine, essentially, right? All gas-operated semi-automatic long guns. And then Governor Jared Polis, in his bid to look moderate, said, "Well, I don't want just a pure handgun or a hardware ban. So let's have this, essentially a permit to purchase, right? A Second Amendment permission slip." Now, help me with the logic of this, Mark, right? According to the anti-gunners, these are battlefield weapons of war that nobody should own. So the governor says, actually, what we want to do is we want people to have additional training so that they're better shots with these battlefield weapons of war that nobody should. Only then can they own them. And the Democrats, the same ones who said nobody should own these things, say, okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Let's make them more proficient.
Get the logic.
That's because there is none. There is none, and you cannot get into the head of a left winger and try to find logic. It's all an emotional deal. And as I was talking about with Quang Nguyen, Arizona State rep, in the last hour, this is ideologue. This is political agenda over everything else. Period. That's all this is. And he made the great point. He said, if I say A, they say B. They're just trained. If I say D, they say E, right? But now there is pushback in Colorado, and you guys have been covering it, and I've got a clip that was from one of your pieces over at Bearing Arms. But before I go to that, Sheriff Roybal has a statement. Cam, I was talking about last week, where are the sheriffs going to go here? Are they going to come? I was talking with Paul Markle on Friday about this. Well, the sheriffs are starting to get vocal in Colorado. And here's a statement from Sheriff Roybal, ladies and gentlemen. This might take us to the break, but bear with us. Yesterday, Governor Jared Polis signed into law Senate Bill 25003. We'll just call it 3. The most atrocious anti-Second Amendment bill in Colorado history. Since the bill was introduced on January 8, 2025 by Senators Tom Sullivan and Julie Gonzalez and Representatives Andrew Bosnecker and Meg Froelich, Sheriff Roybal has outwardly spoken against it, testifying at both House and Senate hearings. Here's what he had to say. I am deeply disappointed in the governor's decision not to veto Senate Bill 3, El Paso County Sheriff Joseph Roybal said. Public safety experts across the state oppose this legislation as it will be burdensome on law-abiding citizens and have no adverse effect on criminals. Small businesses across our state will have to close their doors, and individuals looking to purchase firearms for self-defense will now have to participate in a permit-to-purchase system, saddling hardworking Coloradans with unnecessary fees, bureaucratic hurdles, and a state-mandated registration when exercising their constitutional rights. It is clear those who hold the power in our state legislature are more interested in carrying out a political agenda rather than sponsoring and voting for legislation which enhances public safety and preserves the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens. SB 3 will do nothing to keep weapons out of the hands of criminals and put small businesses out of business in Colorado. As the sheriff of El Paso County, I am working on a plan to minimize the inconvenience for my citizens who wish to exercise their Second Amendment constitutional rights and purchase firearms while adhering to the law. I will communicate my plan to ensure the preservation and protection of El Paso County citizens' ability to purchase firearms at a later date. Greg, quickly, how much time do I have before break?
30.
You got 30 seconds, Cam. I'll let you take it from there. When we hear the music, we'll go to a break and we'll carry on with an audio clip.
I want to see something. I mean, that's a fantastic statement from the sheriff, and I want to see this week how many others come out either in direct support of what the sheriff had to say or with their own statements. And you're talking about that plan, what comes next. Well, this doesn't take effect till 2026, right?
Correct.
So we've got time to develop a legislation, and we've also got time to buy, right, and to vote with our wallets here. So I'll leave it there, but we can definitely talk more about this in the next segment if you want.
And we will do that. Cam Edwards, bearingarms.com. You can watch him on Cam and Company over at Town Hall. We'll be back right after the break. More with Cam Edwards. 3 more segments to go. In hour 2, don't go away.
segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Don't forget to use the promo code AAR at MyPillow.com. Welcome back.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to do that. MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell and the crew up in Minnesota have been supporting this broadcast for over 11 years. I think it might even be longer than that. I've lost track of time over all these 16 years of doing this with you. But Mike Lindell and that crew has been with us for a long time. You get great bargains at MyPillow. Make sure to check them out at MyPillow.com/AAR. Everything you hear, wherever you see or hear an ad, just use the AAR promo code if you like what you see and say thank you for supporting Armed American Radio. Get the same discount. Thank you for supporting my gun rights. I appreciate that. That's what you say when you use that AAR promo code. You can visit all of our partners, also including Barrel Buddy. BarrelBuddy.com. Pitch the patch, baby. Patches are like, old news. Get the new patented technology from Barrel Buddy. There's a reason they're being carried in the SIG store up at the Academy in New Hampshire. They're the real deal. BarrelBuddy.com. Check them out today. Let's get back to Cam Edwards here in the Car Firearms Group studios. Cam, welcome back in, brother.
Hey, man. Always appreciate the invite.
All right, so we had, thank you. You're always welcome. I love having you on. You make my life a lot easier. So we talked about Sheriff Roybal's statements. Greg, you have audio queued up, and this is from Teller County Sheriff Jason Mikesell. Listen to what he had to say, Cam. It is encouraging, and I think you might be right. Much like we saw in New Mexico, I think we're going to see some sheriffs begin to back this now, and that is ridding Colorado of this. And there is time here, ladies and gentlemen, to get this in court. Trust me, this is going to court. Hopefully we can get enough injunctions to stop this. You'll hear the sheriff talk about it. Let's run this tape, and then we'll get commentary from Cam Edwards. Greg, if you would be so kind. Is Greg there?
Hello, I'm Sheriff Jason Mikesell. I wanted to sit down with you today from the Teller County Sheriff's Office and have a discussion with you about what we're doing about 25003. Yesterday was a hard day in Colorado's history, and I think it was the wrong side of history for the governor to be on. He signed into effect 25-003. This is a bill that is aimed to take away your gun rights and to really push the most restrictive gun rights bill in the United States history. I will tell you that this county, my commissioners, and myself are not done fighting. We're not going to be done fighting until this bill is overturned or it has enough injunctions to where it's stopped. I will tell you right now, there's many people that are filing those lawsuits. I agree with them. They should. I think in the state of Colorado, if you feel that those rights are being infringed upon, you should fight back. You should fight back with legal means. And here's the thing to this. I will tell you, you're not alone and that we stand with you. And through this sheriff's office and through this county, we will continue the fight for you. And thank you.
Cam, that's positive. But is it going to be enough?
I mean, listen, if it was just a statement, then no, it's not going to be enough. But, one thing I want to caution people is that because this doesn't go into effect until next year, you're probably not going to see lawsuits filed right away. Right. We've seen cases, in New York, for example, thrown out because the judge says this isn't ripe yet, right? It's premature for you to file now. So the good news is that gives us time to get our legal ducks in a row and to start to build alliances, right? So you've got a broad coalition of plaintiffs. It wouldn't surprise me at all if you had, ultimately when these lawsuits start getting filed, individual gun owners, gun stores, sheriffs, everybody whose lives are going to be upended and implicated by SB 3. Coming together and, that broad coalition challenging this law in court. So, and again, the other aspect of this, the sheriff's right. This isn't going to stop a single criminal. Mark, since 2013, when Colorado first started putting these gun control laws in the books, the violent crime rate has gone up by something like 75%.
Yeah, it's crazy. All Democrat-run cities, I want to point out.
Yeah, absolutely. So they keep trying to ban their way to safety, and it's not working. So what's a committed killer going to do? Well, they're going to get a magazine from outside the state of Colorado, right? They're going to make one on their 3D printer. It's not the hardware. And the thing is, Governor Polis even kind of recognized that when he said, I want this, permit to purchase. Okay, well, again, that's not going to stop a committed individual from stealing a gun or buying one out of state. I don't know how they're going to get around that, Mark. You know, I mean, if you buy a handgun outside your home state, you've got to have it shipped to an FFL where you live. But if you want to buy a rifle outside of your home state, you can generally walk out the door with that. So, from a public safety perspective, again, this is it's absolute nonsense. And as you say, it's not about public safety, right? It's about taking away those rights. It's about making some of the most popular and commonly owned rifles in the country off limits to we the people, and arguing with a straight face that somehow doesn't violate our right to keep and bear arms. So this is headed for a court fight. And Mark, the Supreme Court will release its orders list tomorrow morning at 9:30.
And we'll be watching.
We'll see if they take a gun ban case. And maybe if they do, then this is, we'll have an answer by the time the law goes into effect. But, again, in the absence of the Supreme Court's action, the gun banners are getting bolder and bolder with what they're trying to do. And they're taking a bigger and bigger bite out of our Second Amendment rights. We see this in Colorado. We see this again in New Mexico, where there is no permit to purchase. It's just that these things are banned. This is the new standard semi-auto ban from the gun control lobby. This is what they're pushing.
Yeah.
And the question is going to be how many states enact something like this before the Supreme Court steps in and says, stop, you can't do this.
Well, we have that case. We have the Maryland case. Now, you're getting ahead of me on this, but let's just go there. You brought it up. I'm glad you did. The Maryland case could make this a moot point. In fact, well, it's too late
Absolutely.
now. It's too late now. It would have been nice if they had taken this case and we would have gotten a decision on it by the time this went into effect. But we're not going to. What are your thoughts on this? We're talking, ladies and gentlemen, about the Fourth Circuit Maryland assault weapons ban case known as Snopes again, which is now in 11 or 12 conferences, Cam, a record. You and I talked about it on Cam and Company. It is maddeningly frustrating at this point. But I'll tell you, listeners, the same thing I told Cam. If you watched this on Cam and Company last week, I'll tell you the same thing here. I am getting more confident. It's just a gut feel, Cam. The longer this goes on, the more confident I get they're going to take it, as they've had ample time not to. And my personal opinion is they might just be busy. They've already GVR'd it once. It's been ruled on the merits of the case, which is something they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And it's ripe. It checks, as we say, it checks all the boxes. This would moot Colorado, correct? 30 seconds before the break. I'll let you take it away.
It would. The timing is going to be interesting. And I suspect that what's going to happen is if the Supreme Court does take this case, then, any lawsuit that's filed, it's a much stronger argument to grant a temporary injunction until the Supreme Court answers the question, right?
Thank you.
But even accepting the case, I think, could essentially put the Colorado law on ice.
And that's where the injunction will come in, ladies and gentlemen. So look, Coloradans, keep your fingers crossed, because if Cam is right, and I have a feeling he might be on this, that's great news. Supreme Court steps in, takes the Maryland case, an injunction is then sought in Colorado. Odds are, with the Supreme Court about to rule, or will be ruling in the near future, it puts this thing on ice, as he just said. We'll be back. 2 more segments with the great Cam Edwards. You can check him out at bearingarms.com, and Cam and Company. We'll be right back.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Yeah, Daniel Defense is freedom, passion, and precision, ladies and gentlemen. I've been to that plant. I've lost count how many times I've been there, and you can smell the freedom. When you get out of the car and open those doors and walk to that security, you can smell the freedom on that floor, and it's growing. The plant's growing. Why? Because it's Daniel Defense, and they make some of the best rifles in the world, not to mention their H9 handgun. Make sure to check that out. You can see it all at DanielDefense.com, and I've asked you for years to get on that email list. That's one of those great email lists where you know it comes in. You want to sit down when you're like eating your lunch or after work and dig into that email. It's really cool. You don't get spammed over there. Make sure to check that out. And they run great promotions. I can't even keep up with them all the time. And Armed American Radio listeners have won those promotions in the past. So you have a shot. Check them out. DanielDefense.com. Welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group studio. Sig Sauer Mike, X Insurance presenting it all here at the Patriot Mobile Studios. Let's get back to the great Cam Edwards from BearingArms.com. Cam, welcome back, brother. So the break got us, always does. Can't do anything about those hard breaks, as you know, doing this for a living. But here we go.
Right.
We've got the longest segment of the hour coming up right now, so let's make the best of it. I'll let you wrap up on that Snopes deal and what happens in Colorado. Then I want to talk with you a little bit about Hudson, because you have a really encouraging piece up about concealed carry reciprocity. Take it away, brother.
Yeah, again, I mean, we'll see what happens with Snope. I'm not in disagreement with you, Mark. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about the chances of them taking Snope for precisely the reasons you outlined. If there was going to be, just a denial with a written dissent from, let's say, Justice Thomas, I mean, there's plenty of time for that to have been written. I don't think it's going to be a procurement opinion. So I think you're right. I mean, I think the most logical explanation is it is a matter of timing.
Yeah.
And, are they waiting for another magazine case that has been fully decided on the merits, like Duncan?
Possible.
To come up, right? I mean, I talked with Chuck Michel this past week. They're writing the cert petition for the Supreme Court. So, I mean, that's going to be in there in a couple of weeks. California will have 30 days to respond. That could be. And then they'll, keep Nerona, Ocean State Tactical versus Nerona around. We just don't know, but I'm really hopeful that we get some word tomorrow. I really am.
Well, you and I will definitely be talking about it, and I know we'll probably be a flurry of text exchanges tomorrow because, like you, my fingers are crossed. However, at this point, I'm just kind of patient now, and I'm not a patient person by nature. But in this particular case, I'm feeling I'm a little bit chilled about it right now. Maybe that's because I do feel good about it. But again, ladies and gentlemen, you know what they say about opinions, all right? I've got mine, you've got yours. We've all got them, all right? It's just the way it is. You're going to feel the way you feel about it, but eventually we're going to get an answer here. Either way, we're going to be talking about it. Let's move over to Hudson. I had Eli Crane on, Representative Eli Crane from Arizona on a few weeks back, and he was not optimistic about this concealed carry reciprocity bill moving. And he made that very clear. It was kind of disappointing to hear what he had to say. However, you are, and I'm going to agree with you on this because of Hudson's statement, and that's this, ladies and gentlemen. We got it through the Judiciary Committee. We got it through the House, but the Senate wouldn't move. This is going back to the Thune Amendment a while back. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is now committed to the issue, so I think we'll get it done this time. Oh, that's pretty positive. You wrote extensively about it. The piece is titled, Hudson Optimistic About Right to Carry Reciprocity's Chances of Success. Cam, 2 days ago you put this up. How are you feeling?
I got to say, I mean, I take the representative at his word, right? And
you have to.
The House wasn't going to be the sticking point. The Senate is going to be the issue. And, hearing Hudson say that Thune is committed to moving this is great news. Then the question becomes, all right, well, in what vehicle is this going to get moved, right? Yeah. If you bring the bill to the floor on a standalone vote, there aren't going to be 60 votes to pass it, unfortunately. You have 53 Republican senators. Maybe you get John Fetterman on board. All right, that gets you to 54, but where are the other 6 for cloture, right? Mm-hmm. So, is this something that could be included in budget negotiations? That's, I think, how we're going to see a lot of legislation get enacted, right? In those vehicles where you just a bare majority vote is enough, and that's going to take some lobbying, I think, to try to include that as a rider of some sort. So I am more optimistic than I was. I am still fairly pessimistic about anything getting through Congress, which is why I think what Donald Trump is doing with the executive branch, which I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the hour, is so critically important, because there are going to be a lot of great bills that are introduced in Congress that just aren't going anywhere, unfortunately.
Well, this is going to be procedural.
So,
You're right. It's not going to move as a standalone bill. We don't have 60 votes. There's going to be some procedural maneuvers, but I'll tell you why I like what Hudson had to say, because nothing in Washington happens in a vacuum. I don't believe he said that without some backroom knowledge. I don't believe that for a second. That's not the way Washington works. So I think he might know something. Again, opinion. Could be wrong, but we've been doing this a long time. Nothing in Washington happens in a vacuum. And I don't think it was a strategic move on his part to make a public statement like that, to maybe bring 4 or 5 other senators with him. I don't think that was the case. I think he might know something, and it is going to have to be procedural, no doubt about it, Cam. But I feel a lot better about it after reading your piece. I got to be honest with you.
Well, the best thing that we can do, honestly, is to, start talking to our senators and even writing, Senate leadership and saying, get this done, make it a priority. We have a guaranteed a little more than a year and a half right now, right? So we got to make the most of that. And, we don't. So, this is the moment to get stuff done and to not leave stuff on the table. So I think we've got to make sure that our elected representatives get that message. Next year being an election year, some of these guys are going to be up for their seat. And, I think we need to remind them that gun owners pay attention to these things. We don't forget.
And we're not going to forget in this case. I want to move to Virginia real quick. Piece you covered. Virginia Democrat backs gun ban in governor's race. There's a shocker. When I saw that headline, I almost fell out of my chair. Really? Seriously? A Virginia Democrat backs a gun ban in Virginia? Now, you live in Virginia. You got about a minute and a half. Take it away, brother. Virginia, I can't figure you guys out.
You're right. It's a pretty basic headline, but, as a Virginian, the only thing that has stopped us from becoming South Jersey or East California is a Republican governor. The Democrats have control of the General Assembly right now, and if Abigail Spanberger becomes the next governor, they are going to absolutely obliterate our Second Amendment rights in Virginia, and it's going to be one of their top priorities. So, we know that pro-Second Amendment people can win statewide election, but I got to tell you, Mark, I am scared to death that we've got a lot of complacent gun owners right now who are not as involved and not as invested in this election as they need to be.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm optimistic about Winsome Sears. Because I don't think Virginia's going to vote for somebody named Spanberger for president, Governor Spanberger. It just doesn't work. It doesn't fit. It's like my wife picks horses to win based on their names. I'm going to pick a loser on this one based on a name. No, I'm funning with you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kidding. I don't want anybody to get complacent in Virginia. You cannot afford it. But there is a stark difference between the two candidates here, Cam. And one of them's going to expand, or not expand, but one of them is going to protect and give you back what has been taken from you in Virginia, your rights. So I guess that's expansion in a sense, because it's a Democrat-controlled legislature, Cam. We're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Trump and some of the things that he's done. And I'm going to use an NRA piece to do that. The NRA highlighted 7 great positive things that had happened, that have happened so far, Cam, in a very short span of time. And I think it's worthy of mentioning, and I'm appreciative of them putting that out. Because a lot of folks on our side, myself included, were sitting wondering, God, when is this all going to happen? We want it yesterday, and I know you're one of them, Cam. When we come back, Cam Edwards, BearingArms.com, Cam and Company. Right after the break, one more segment in the second hour with Cam. Don't go away.
following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. PatriotMobile.com, PatriotMobile.com/AAR, PatriotMobile.com/AAR, PatriotMobile.com/AAR. Activate a phone over there. We've got 2 phones out of 5 that are activated over there. We're slowly merging away from one of the big carriers over there. And I know, like me, it takes time, right? Maybe you can't get them all done. If all your phones are paid for, you can do it all at one shot. And if you do that, you get a free month on your phones. PatriotMobile.com. Don't forget all of our other partners. Again, you can find them all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com, including Ammo Squared, BudsGunShop.com. They're great over there at Buds. Buds has everything you need. You need everything they have. BudsGunShop.com. Make sure to check out all their specials. You can find it right on their website, our exclusive online retailer, BudsGunShop.com. And don't forget Heaven's Harvest for your emergency food supplies, not just food supplies, but all the other cool stuff you need. Heaven's Harvest, great family-owned business by Clayton Llewellyn and his family over there. I've known them for years when they were down in Florida. Now they're in Georgia, and they supply you across the country. And they are just great at what they do. Good Christian, conservative, gun-loving company. Got to love that. Again, that's heavensharvest.com. And you can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Welcome back to the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Cam Edwards. One more segment with you, brother. Let's keep it rolling. So let me go to the NRA piece. I like what the NRA put up here. 7 things the Trump administration has done for our Second Amendment freedom. Now, keeping in mind, he's been in office less than 5 months. A review of all of Biden's anti-gun actions, an end to the ATF zero-tolerance policy, HHS and guns. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Bringing more freedom to D.C. with the permit structure there. He's got a D.C. safe and beautiful task force to coordinate efforts to do that, make it easier for you to get your permit in D.C. Challenging local licensing bureaus across the country. Los Angeles is one that they highlighted here. We've talked about it. And Trump even touching Hollywood. Now, there's more. The Second Amendment Task Force. There's been some moves with ATF since this was written, Cam. Your thoughts on all of this? Let's talk a little bit about Trump.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like things are picking up speed. I think that there was some frustration early on that, and listen, rightfully so. I mean, President Trump talked on the campaign trail about undoing Joe Biden's gun actions, if not the first day, the first week, and we didn't see that. It was early February, so a little bit more than a month after he took office that he directed Pam Bondi to take a look at, all these policies and practices within the executive branch. And I think that's taken a little bit more time than what we were hoping for. But now I think we're really starting to see some substantive moves. You look at the Civil Rights Division investigating the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department over the concealed carry licenses. Mark, this is the first time in history that the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice has been used to investigate abuses of our Second Amendment rights. That is historic.
Yep.
And in this Second Amendment task force that Pam Bondi is putting together, one of the things they're going to be looking at, again, is that, and she said it specifically in her memo, litigation strategies. This is something I know the Firearms Policy Coalition has called for, a dedicated division within the Civil Rights Division that would focus on free speech and Second Amendment cases. So, I'm very optimistic that we are going to start seeing the power of the DOJ harnessed to protect our right to keep and bear arms rather than to destroy it and to turn lawful gun owners into criminals. That alone, I think, is absolutely huge. What we're seeing at ATF, I think, is really interesting.
To say the least.
I will confess, I don't know about you, Mark. I'm still scratching my head a little bit, and I'm sure there's a backstory. But it seems to me, if you replace one guy because he has a full-time job, and his replacement also has a full-time job, that tells me that Dan Driscoll probably not going to be in that role for too terribly long. Maybe another placeholder. Marvin Richardson retiring after 30-something years in the Bureau and 5 or 6 years as deputy director, acting director. Do they promote from within? Do they bring in an outsider? I think all those are really big questions. But again, I think we are starting to see some movement now. And I think, like I said, it might have taken a little bit longer than gun owners would have liked, but I think the pieces are now in place. And we're starting to move from talk and planning into execution.
Yeah, and Cam, we see things in the here and now, right? Because we're in the here and now. Now, if we look back over our shoulders, even right now, feeling the way we felt about when is this going to get done, right? When are we going to get this report? When is he going to do this? Day one is now a week late, 2 weeks late, a month late. When are we going to get this information? If we look over our shoulders now, honestly, we can go, wow, as this piece from the NRA points out, there has been some movement and some substantial movement, even historic, to use your word. So we are seeing it. If we get more of this, if we see the same movement now and look back over a year, good heavens, we're going to see more pro-gun stuff go on over the past year over our shoulders than we've ever seen in the history, at least as long as I've been alive anyway, and I think safe to say in the history of the country relative to gun rights. So he's moving in the right direction. Honestly, I think they get to Washington, D.C., and they realize, wow, this deep state is deeper than I thought it was, okay? And they can't move as fast as they like. I've accused Pam Bondi of getting out over her skis, a little bit, saying things that she knows people want to hear, and then all of a sudden realizing, ruh-roh, okay, hey, Cash, why didn't you get me what I asked for? And it becomes, a tit for tat. But yeah, I feel good about it, and I think you do too. Let's talk a little bit about what else could they do going forward. What else could we do? Let's look at it that way. With what they've already done, those 7 things, what do you like to see now moving forward? What does Cam want?
Well, so it's actually interesting. And I'll mention Cam and Company tomorrow. Actually, we're talking with Cody Wisniewski of Firearms Policy Coalition because they put out kind of a position paper about what they wanted to see. So I use that as kind of a jumping off point, right? That dedicated, a team within the Civil Rights Division that would focus just on Second. I think that might be my number one priority. Because, for decades, look at what we've done with groups like the Second Amendment Foundation litigating, right? And how many active lawsuits they have. The Civil Rights Division taking an interest in Second Amendment cases would not negate the need for a Second Amendment Foundation, but all of a sudden you have the federal government as our ally in this, Mark. And so that alone, I think, would be absolutely massive. I would like to see, if not a White House Office of Second Amendment Promotion or White House Office of Responsible Gun Ownership. FTC talked about the need for a czar that could coordinate pro-Second Amendment efforts throughout the executive branch. Yeah. And I think that would be a good role to play because there are a lot of moving parts. And, look, RFK Jr. is in charge of, revamping HHS, right? Pam Bondi's in charge of DOJ. But is there anybody who can, just kind of look over everything and say, all right, here's this Second Amendment approach that we need to be taking to comply with the president's executive order? That would be good to have, right?
Cam, and then let me close out with this because we're up against a hard break again. I apologize. I could keep you on for another 2 hours. But I'll say this.
Keep talking for another 2
hours. I know it. I love you, man. I love you. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it very much. The civil rights issue, I think, is huge. Here's why it has to happen now. Because the sooner it happens, the harder it will be once it's entrenched for a Democrat in the future to get rid of it. So it has to happen now. Yep. The longer it takes, the easier it will be to oust that. And we don't want that to happen. Cam Edwards, BearingArms.com, Cam and Company. Ladies and gentlemen, he's awesome, a national treasure. Make sure to check him out. If you're going to be at the NRA, make sure to meet us over there. I'll be there. Cam and I will run into each other, guaranteed. We'll see you there if you're going to be there. Cam Edwards, thanks for being here. We love you, brother. When we come back, a classic Armed American Radio roundtable. Yeah, I was going to say Neil, Brad, Justin, and Ryan Petty right after the top of the hour, 6 minutes after.
You've just filled This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center on the Sig Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance. X Insurance. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Wow, hard to believe. The first 2 hours of the program are already in the rearview mirror. Good heavens, time flies. Unbelievable. If you are just joining us, welcome to the Classic Armed American Radio Roundtable. If you are rejoining us, welcome back on hundreds of stations around the nation. And all of you new stations out there, we love you. Too many of them to mention right now, but you know who you are. Awesomeness on display. We love you guys. Hundreds of you out there carrying the program from coast to coast. Many of you, million-plus listeners tuned in. It's always fun to be here with you in the Car Firearms Group studios to start your week on a Sunday in front of the Sig Sauer mic. All of it being brought to you by the great X Insurance here at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. Greg in Dallas, Tejas, how you doing? 2 hours already behind us, bro.
Yeah, zoom, hour 3, here we are.
Yeah, like my daughter used to say when she was little, "Can you believe it, Daddy? Can you believe it?"
Already hour 3, yep.
Already hour 3, good heavens. She's 23 in November now, too, by the way. Ooh, there's always that.
There you go.
Have pictures of her and her brother, my son, in the radio studio with me at AM 920. We love you guys, AM 920, The Answer, in Atlanta, when they were just little kids. In 13 days, we will be 16 years on the nation's airwaves. We just keep growing and growing and growing, and it's awesome. Greg, if you would be kind enough to tell people where to watch the broadcast, participate in the chats and all that fun stuff on social media, and I'll just take this one from you now, Facebook.com. You can watch us there right now. And every other day of the week, 6 days a week on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Greg, I'll let you take the rest. We'll go to the crew.
Yeah, sure. If you want to watch the show on other avenues, just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters over on YouTube and Rumble. Over on X, it's at AAR Mark. You want to join our live chat, just download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
And that will do it. Do we have the table seated?
Yeah, everybody's here. Ryan worked out his technical issues
right, good.
before we got
Ryan
rolling.
is a wizard because you just mentioned him. Let's go to Ryan Petty, Parkland father Ryan Petty. Ryan, newest member of the roundtable. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well, Mark. It's great to be here with you.
Ooh, I love it. You sound like you're sitting in the room with me. I just can't get over that. That's just wunderbar. Great to have you here, Ryan Petty. We love you. Brad Primo, CEO, Lead Slingers. How you doing, bro?
Doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Got a great question for you that came up with Quang Nguyen in the first segment, or the first hour, I should say, of the program, about a Army vet who is a representative, a Democrat gun grabber in Arizona, and I can't wait to talk with you about that. And Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. We're in the Car Firearms Group studios. Couldn't do it without you, Justin. How you doing? Well, welcome in.
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Oh, man. I get to see you in 2 weeks in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It is good. It's always fun when I get to hang out with you guys. Always fun. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to be at the NRA convention, stop by and see me, Justin, the whole crew. We'll be there. I'll be walking around. We'll be doing some interviews all over the floor. Can't wait. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've been to an NRA convention. I'm looking forward to this one. So let's get started, guys. Brad, I'm going to start with you. Quang Nguyen in Arizona brought this up in the first hour. You know, we refer to him as the shredder, okay? Because no anti-gun bill in Arizona gets past his desk. They come across his desk, they go right to the shredder behind his desk. Bzzz, chopped up. Nothing moves. And every single legislative session, you got a guy by the name of Marquez, a Democrat, likes to harp on the fact he's an Army vet. Quang was telling us, because, and he will say this on the floor, no one should have guns that he had in the military. None of us civilians are capable of handling the military-type firepower that we have on the streets. None of us. None of the 150 million people that are in possession of over 20 million AR-15s, you know where he's going with this, or for that matter, any other semi-automatic assault rifle. And you know, while I appreciate his service, Brad, that does not mean he cannot be criticized for his take. And I asked Quang, does the guy not go to any civilian ranges? Does he not visit the Scottsdale Gun Club or the Ben Avery range, which is just ginormous, by the way? When you hear something like that, as a vet who fought for the country, how do you respond to, if you were on the floor as an opponent of his, how would you respond to him? I can't wait to hear your answer here.
There's a handful of these dudes out there. There's another one in Colorado. I think the last name is Crow.
Mm-hmm.
It's nails on a chalkboard. Anytime I hear, them start, well, as a veteran, and then they go on this anti-liberty, anti-Second Amendment spiel as if they know what they're talking about because, they did some time in the Army, and then you go find out, maybe they were a clerk, maybe they're an infantry guy, who knows. But, they should understand more than anybody, any veteran would understand more than anybody that, it's not uncommon to have an 18-year-old carrying an M4, an 18-year-old with a 240 Bravo machine gun. We hand these guys hand grenades, and we think nothing of it. It's not like, you're an 18-year-old private has been super highly trained the first time they hand them one of these guns. And you know what? They learn. And this idea that citizens cannot also be confident with a rifle is just insane because, it's citizens who make up the military. And it's citizens who make up the National Guard. I mean, that was the basis of the whole thing.
What a great point.
And I'll even go further, just my own personal experience, being out in the countryside in Iraq in a few places, kind of seeing, what some of those people were living with. I mean, I still remember, we were actually living in this guy's farm, getting ready to intercept Al-Qaeda in Iraq. They were coming across the border at Syria. We were outside a place called Husayba. And this guy was telling, hey, look, these dudes are coming across, and they're coming into my farm, and they're making me, give them safe passage and making them feed them, making them lay up, let them lay up there for a couple of days before moving to the city, under threat. If you don't help us, we're going to kill you. We'll come back here and kill you and your family. This is an elderly man. He was disabled, and I still remember, we found a weapons cache, and we grabbed a brand new AK-47 out of weapons cache and took it over to that man and gave it to him. We found the weapons cache in another part of the town. Thought of that guy, drove over to his place, had that AK-47. You would think that we'd given him, a big, gold brick. It was the most valuable thing, and he had the biggest smile on his face because that man now had the ability to defend himself and his family against people who were threatening him. We gave him a chance to live, is what we did. And that was, anybody who did some time in places like Afghanistan or Iraq can see that there are everyday people out there, even if they're a lot different from us, that still understand the utility and the need to be able to defend your own life and the life of your loved ones.
Well, apparently he got it, and you made a new friend. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. When you hear something like that, what goes through your mind? Because Brad's right, they're out there. Tim Waltz is one of these guys, right? A lot of stolen valor issues with Tim Waltz as well, accusations there. His command sergeant major and all the other nonsense we won't get into. But veteran, anti-gun, likes to feel like because he's a veteran, you got to, he's above criticism. Your thoughts?
Well, he may be a veteran, but he sounds like a communist. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we are a nation born of revolution. I mean, our nation formed because we took up guns and we shot the British. And the reason why we have the right to bear arms is because we won that right in that war. So, and the reason why we've remained free and have the liberties and prosperity that we've had for the last 250 years was because through that war, the average citizen became the owners of the country. We gained the rights of kings. And so for this individual to make that claim is he wants us to put us back into the slavery under the English monarchy and have us tacked to death by a tyrannical government. And I think that's the sad situation of America today is that we have so many people who are living off the teat of the taxpayer, and they just want to basically keep on sucking that teat.
Yeah, Arizona Marquez, that's his name. If you could reach out to him, let him know. Ryan, this guy, as I said in the first hour of the program, is just like the rest of the Democrats out there that hate your guns. He's just simply putting his agenda and his politics before anything else, and he will march in lockstep no matter what. Right. And he'll fall on this I'm a veteran deal as if he is somehow above criticism. He is not. We're criticizing him right now, and we will continue to do so. Thanks for your service, but you're a moron. Ryan, take us to the break.
Hey, look, this is what we call an appeal to authority. And authoritarians of all stripes will use this type of argument to try to put somebody up as a quote unquote expert. Now, this guy, to Brad's point, look, he shot a lot of firearms in the military. Doesn't make him an expert about civilian use of firearms.
When we come back, we'll go back to you, Ryan Petty, and start off the new conversation. Boy, you did take us right to the break. Armed American Radio's Monstercast, the classic Armed American Radio Roundtable with Ryan Petty, Justin Moon, and Brad Primo. We'll be back right after the break.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Oh, welcome back, guys. Second segment, Hour 3, Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues here in these Car Firearms Group studios. I am Mark Walters, of course, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, 6 days a week, in front of this Sig Sauer microphone on Sundays, here from the Patriot Mobile Command Center. It's all being brought to you by the Great X Insurance. Please go out of your way to support all of our partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com, armedamericanradio.com. Please support every one of them. We wouldn't be here without them. We are celebrating our 16th anniversary in 13 days, an amazing run. So we'll have a good show lined up for you then, too. We'll get a little nostalgic for you because it's always fun to do, looking back over all those years. Ryan Petty, let me go back to you here. So I'm going to approach a subject with you, Ryan, that you know about more than anyone else likely listening to this show or participating in the program right now, Ryan. And if you Google right now 2 words, gun control, let me tell you what's going to pop up, okay? And I love to do this when we're live on the air because you really never know. Sometimes you take a chance and you go to guns by just Googling gun control, and you can take a whole show on that because they will never, ever, ever let you down, Ryan. They will never let you down. But the top 6 stories that pop up are all about Colorado having the most restrictive gun laws in the United States. One of them, Ryan, is a CBS News piece. Colorado now has one of the most restrictive gun laws in the country. Governor Jared Polis on Thursday signed into law what may be the toughest gun control regulations in state history. Under the new law, it is illegal to buy, sell, and make most semi-automatic firearms without background checks and training, and you have to get permission, ladies and gentlemen. They left that out on CBS. Maybe that was intentional. The governor was under heavy pressure to veto the bill from gun rights advocates, including Colorado's Republican members of Congress. They say the new law is unconstitutional. Now, Ryan, this is where it gets personal, and I want your thoughts. Don't hold back. The bill was sponsored by Representative Tom Sullivan, who says the bill is life-saving. We have been able to add to the safety of each and every Coloradan. Now, here's where. Sullivan's son, Alex, was murdered in 2012 in the Aurora Theater shooting. Ryan, you lost your daughter at Parkland. And here's the comment he made that I want your comment on. My family made the decision that we would not be silent or indivisible. We would speak out and be present for all those who have been impacted by the public health crisis that is gun violence. What he left off of that statement was by screwing every single law-abiding American that lives in Colorado who is not a criminal because of the actions of one scumbag. Ryan, take it away from personal experience, your thoughts when you hear this.
Well, look, Sullivan makes a mistake all gun controllers make, and I understand the anger, right? I not only can imagine, I know the feelings he's going through. He's upset. He's frustrated. How could this happen? Why did it happen? He's probably fallen for the argument. Why does this only happen in America? Which we know is a fallacy. He's angry. He wants to do something. And the one thing that, again, I believe it's the folks that are authoritarian in nature, they want to control other people's behavior. And they believe, and we've talked about this 100 times, mistakenly, that by passing a law, somehow criminals are going to all of a sudden go, you know, I was thinking about shooting up that school, or boy, I can't wait to get down to the theater to shoot up that theater and kill a bunch of innocent people. But you know what? It's illegal now. In fact, it's doubly illegal because it's murder and there's a gun control law now in place. So I better not do that. It's a fundamental misunderstanding about evil and what motivates these people and what provides a disincentive. This law is not a disincentive to a motivated person that is intent on killing people, whether it's in a theater, a school, a shopping mall, or at home. Hate finds a way, I like to say. And what Sullivan does is exactly what all these authoritarians do. They fall for the idea or believe the idea or get sucked in by the idea that punishing law-abiding gun owners is somehow going to eliminate criminal activity. And we know nothing could be further from the truth. He's barking up the proverbial wrong tree. This will do nothing to make Coloradans more safe. In fact, what he's done is make Colorado unlivable.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. I'll let them stand on their own. Brad Primo, I take it to you, then we'll go to Justin on this. From what you just heard from Ryan, who has lived through this horror, is awful. And I feel terrible for Tom Sullivan and his family, but he has put himself in the public arena. He's now a public official on taxpayer dime, and he's in this arena, and we will counter him. Not afraid to do that. Feel terrible about what he went through, but he's coming after everybody's rights and freedoms. And as you just heard from Ryan, it's a mistake. Brad, here's what continues from CBS. Remember, we're talking about Tom Sullivan now. He has helped pass nearly 24 gun laws since becoming a state lawmaker in 2019. The new law is the most far-reaching, although it doesn't go as far as Sullivan would have liked, Brad. The original version of his bill banned so-called assault weapons. Paulus negotiated, the governor, several amendments, including an exemption for those who agree to an extensive vetting process. Brad, when you hear this, you hear what Ryan said, take it away.
On the head. These are authoritarians, and the opportunity to exert further control on people is more than they can resist. It's not about controlling crime. It's not about safety. It's about exerting more and more control over the lives of the people they think are beneath them, is what it boils down to. They're not saving anything. They're basically just a threat to the rest of us. Because they can't contain themselves. They can't contain themselves in their desire to have absolute control over our lives. I think that's what it boils down to. And I hate it for this guy. I'm sure that he would give anything to not be who he is today.
Of course,
I have no doubt. I have no doubt in my mind. But that does not give him the right or the prerogative to come after regular people who are minding their own business, and what they have in their gun safe at home is none of his business. And he apparently just doesn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't know if he does or doesn't. Justin, these people have this mindset that if you, Justin, take the guns out of your safe that they don't like and turn them over to the police, that somehow your local school district is safer, even though you are no threat to anyone. I'd like to get your thoughts on what you heard from Ryan, the CBS piece, what you heard from Ryan, and, of course, what you heard from Brad. Take us to the break, brother. 30
Mark,
seconds, and we'll come back to you when we come back. Go ahead.
Mark, you know that all this mass shooting nonsense and these gun control bills that follow behind it are, the mass shooters, 95% of them are on SSRIs. Not only are they on SSRIs, they're a lot of them. There's been government programs, MK Ultra for one, which use hallucinogenic chemicals to make crazy people who the government are assassins.
When we come back from the break, we're going to go back to you, Justin, let you finish your thought on that, and then we're going to start the next round of questioning with you. When we come back, Armed American Radio's Roundtable, the classic Roundtable, with Justin Moon, CEO of Carr Arms, Parkland father Ryan Petty, and CEO of Leadslingers Whiskey, Brad Primo. We'll be right back, guys.
following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back indeed. Patriot Mobile. Got 2 Patriot Mobile phones residing with me here in the studios. I have 2 of my 5 phones. Not mine, family's 5 phones. 2 of them are mine. I hate having a phone, let alone 2 of them. But they're Patriot Mobile phones here, and you can do the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. PatriotMobile.com/AAR. If you do that, move your phone over. It's effortless. It takes just a few minutes. They'll do it for you. It's a lot easier if your phones are paid off. Trust me, I know that. That's why the other 3 are not yet, but they will be in the very near future. PatriotMobile.com/AAR. Get a free month activation. Not a free month activation. You get a free month over there when you activate one of your phones and move it away from your woke, hateful company that uses your money against you. And they do. They all do. They're not changing. They're just not talking about it that much anymore. Trust me, they're advocating against you and everything you believe in, particularly your gun rights, which is the focus of this show. Welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters in front of the 6-hour mic here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. All brought to you by X Insurance and all of our great partners. Please go out of your way to support them all. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. Let's go back to you. We got cut off there, but I'm going to throw another one at you here. Start this conversation off now because Mike Bloomberg is now dumping. He's reaching into his pockets. $10 million, Justin, as you know, to Michael Bloomberg is pocket change. It's walking around money, okay? It's couch change to this guy. Good for him. I'm glad he's got all that money. Michael Bloomberg, affiliated gun control group, spending $10 million to secure state attorneys general who will fight Donald Trump. Take a listen to this. This is from a rabidly anti-gun piece, guys, from the New York Times last week. But they reported that $10 million will be used this year and next. That's leading up to the midterms, folks, to try to elect state-level AGs who are willing to take up the fight. The fight. Everytown President John Feinblatt indicated the money will be used, get this, Justin, in Virginia, Arizona, Georgia, Minnesota, Nevada, and Wisconsin, among others, but they singled out those states. The overarching plan is to, quote-unquote, focus on defending states from actions by the Trump administration more than on serving as an offensive playbook for enacting gun control measures. Here's what John Feinblatt, Everytown's president, said. Attorneys general have been steadfast partners when it comes to holding the gun industry accountable, and now they're the tip of the spear in defending our system of checks and balances. When laws are considered optional, public safety is at risk, and that's why Everytown is making sure AGs know we have their back. Justin, I find it interesting when you look at that little group of states. Arizona, very pro-gun, but a very slim Republican majority in both houses, and a Democrat governor. Georgia, on the other hand, Republican governor, and majorities just short of supermajorities in the House and Senate. Minnesota, Nevada, Wisconsin, Virginia, controlled by Democrats already. Justin, why those states, and what is he up to?
Well, George Soros proved that
there
if
you go.
He's in the right areas, you can do a lot of damage against conservative causes. I mean, look at Texas. Texas is predominantly, red in all the national elections and most of the county elections, but 3 AGs in the 3 big cities are creating all sorts of, law and order distress and messes in that state. I mean, you got these Soros DA in Houston, Dallas, and in Austin. It's crazy.
No, you're spot on with that. And, when you look at a prosecutor like a DA, Ryan Petty, in Fulton County, Georgia, Fannie Willis, by the way, who's got tons of her own problems. And I'm sure that Stacey Abrams isn't going to be around to help her out. She's running scared because of all the billions she took unlawfully. But nonetheless, Justin nailed it. Soros money can do tremendous damage. But I find that list of states interesting. Arizona and Georgia. So I'm wondering, what is it that he thinks, let's just focus on Georgia because I'm here, a very red state, gun-loving state, great gun laws in the state of Georgia. I would argue better than Arizona's. I could easily make that argument, but we'll save that for another day. Nonetheless, Ryan, what is he? Why, when you hear that list of states, what do you think he's up to here? Why Georgia, for example?
Well, I think, I'm glad I'm not in his head, but what I would think he's doing is he believes it's far more purple than maybe you're giving it credit for, Mark. And I think he's looking at it as a state to flip. Now, years ago, that money was spent here in Florida, right? Because Florida was purple. It could have gone either way. now now Florida, I'm proud to say, is significantly, it's about as crimson red as you can get, and they're not wasting their money here. And so my guess is he's going after states that he views are vulnerable, and he needs big wins in states like Arizona and Georgia in the South. This is the Sun Belt. It's fast growing. It's an opportunity to flip the script as he looks at it and control these states for a number of years.
I think you're spot on with that. And, Brad, I'm glad that Tennessee wasn't on there. But let me say this in response to Ryan, and I'll get your comments, Brad. John Ossoff's going to get his Democrat ass kicked here in the state of Georgia coming up in the election. It's almost a foregone conclusion. Now, I could be wrong, but this is a very red state, and I'm telling you right now, he is not highly thought of here. Neither is Raphael Warnock. We'll see what happens there, but Warnock's not up right now. John Ossoff is. So I kind of want to get your take on this. Thankfully, Tennessee's not on that list, but believe me, you're not immune to Bloomberg money either. Just because it wasn't mentioned doesn't mean he's not coming after you. Although I think he sees your state a lot redder. I think Ryan's right. He might be living in this bubble that Georgia is purple, but Georgia went overwhelmingly for Trump as well, and Kemp. And Kemp is likely going to be the one that cleans Ossoff's clock. Your take, Brad.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's probably wrong about Georgia, but I mean, Arizona and Wisconsin, yeah, both toss-ups. And it's not just about guns for him. That's just the issue to get the people out. But if you look at the way the Democrats went after Donald Trump, is they did it through state attorney generals, right, up there in New York and in local DAs. They use lawfare at that level because they couldn't touch it at the federal level. And, getting more of those people, getting more pieces on the board, I guess, it just gives them more opportunities in their mind to derail Donald Trump. And honestly, I mean, they would love to put him in prison for the rest of his life if they could. And so this is all about flipping states. This is all about flipping states blue, and probably with a state attorney general, they also have a lot of ability to influence election laws and how elections are conducted. And so there you go, another opportunity to steal more elections as well.
Yeah, you didn't let me down, ladies and gentlemen. I knew Brad was going to go there. I thought he would. It finally came out, Justin. This is how you weaponize the government, is through the state AG, and that's exactly what Bloomberg wants to do, is keep the weaponization of government alive through the state AGs, particularly in a state that he feels might be a little bit more purple than it actually is. But nonetheless, it's definitely a concern, as you pointed out. Soros money can do a lot of damage. So can Bloomberg's, Justin. But this is about weaponizing government, isn't it? Or keeping weaponization alive, I should say. Well,
looking at the results from 2020, I think Governor Kemp there has some problems. I think I'm speculating. As speculation, I think there's a problem with election fraud and election corruption there. And I think the governor may have a hand in it. So I think if the Soros is able to get a Soros-appointed or left-wing DA, he can definitely control the governor and continue to manipulate elections in Georgia.
And that's definitely part of his plan, Ryan. Just what Justin said. Again, this is weaponization on full display. That's exactly what Bloomberg is counting on, is continuing to weaponize the government against the will of the people through the AG and local DAs, is it not?
He's coming at it from both angles, right?
Yeah,
sponsoring this crazy legislation like we're seeing in California or in Colorado, which makes it, like I said before, almost an unlivable state. But then they fought it through lawfare, right, and through the courts, and trying to. We watched this happen in New York and California, where they're trying to thread the needle with Bruen and just make it. Just follow the letter of the law without following the spirit of the law. And this is how authoritarians behave, especially well-funded authoritarians. He's got his mom's demand and other foot soldiers out there doing his bidding, which costs him almost nothing. So he can spend a lot of money on lawfare and try to subvert our liberties.
Pocket change, couch change. That $10 million to Bloomberg, man, he can find that in the seat cushions in his car, ladies and gentlemen. That's how dangerous all that money can be when it's used against you. We have one more segment with the boys here in the roundtable. We'll be back right after the break.
Desperado sport fishing crew in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
Love Sebastian Gorka. Now, back to Mark Walters. We love you, Sebastian Gorka. And thanks for what you're doing for the country as well. Also a great talk radio host and a friend. I'm proud to say that. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues here in the Classic Armed American Radio Roundtable. Please go out of your way to visit all of our partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Start stacking ammo at Ammo Squared. Guys, let me just tell you what I do. I give $15 a week, and I've got thousands of rounds of ammo. Every Wednesday, I've allocated 9mm, 10mm, and some 5.56 and some 223. And I changed it up when I got to enough of what I wanted in 10. I moved the rest of it over to 9. And I added some more. I split it between 9 and 223 and 5.56. I now have several thousand rounds of ammunition stacked up over there, and it's effortless. And every single Wednesday for $15 a week, I get an email that says, "You've got ammo." And that's a beautiful thing. AmmoSquared.com. Support these amazing companies that make these products available to you. If you're stacking ammo at home, you don't have to be stacking ammo. If you're buying ammo and you don't have room for it like me, I don't want another safe. I got ammo all over the place, right? In my little gun room, my man cave in there with a bar and everything else, some really cool stuff in there, all my goat guns, all kinds of cool stuff. I didn't need any more ammo stacking in there, and I got sick of putting cans elsewhere. Ammo Squared will ship it to me whenever I want it immediately, and it's so user-friendly. It's one of those no-brainer ideas. AmmoSquared.com. Also, BudsGunShop.com. Don't forget BarrelBuddy.com, Heaven's Harvest, all of them. You can find them all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. If you need that new car firearm, man, go check out the webpage. They got some great stuff up there. Justin and I are going to have a conversation at the NRA convention about which one of those pistols I'm going to be getting my hands on, because they're all great. And we'll talk with him about that, and we'll interview him for you at the NRA convention as well. So you'll be hearing from him while we're doing all that fun stuff. Welcome back to the Classic Roundtable, guys, here in the Car Firearms Group studio. Sig Sauer, Mike, all brought to you by X Insurance. All right, guys, let's go back. Let's keep the conversation alive. I forgot where I left off. I took a couple phone calls during the break. Brad, I think I owe you an up. Is that right?
I don't know.
Let's
I lost
do it.
track as well.
That's okay. Everybody's working during the breaks. Let's do this. Legislators are urging, guys, and this is a fascinating, wait till you hear this. This is like a Doge report, okay, relative to your rights, your gun rights in particular. Legislators are urging HHS Secretary Kennedy to end the CDC/NIH, all right, Centers for Disease Control and National Institutes of Health spending on gun control. Take a listen to this. Misappropriated NIH grants cited. Here they are. $3.6 million for firearm retirement for senior citizens. $1.2 million for check-ins on guns at home. $2.1 million, your dollars, ladies and gentlemen, all of this, to study firearm possession by Asian Americans. $1.1 million on gun ownership and risk. $333,000 to promote effective gun confiscation laws and wait periods. $518,000 on firearm storage and confiscation laws. $490,000 to compare states' gun policies, and $349,000 to show, quote, if firearms laws reduce mortality. Brad, that's where some of your money's going, brother. Bring it on. Be FCC compliant.
I gotta tell you like that. Yeah, if you've been paying attention to the stuff that Doge has been finding, and you're not just completely disgusted and enraged, I don't know what to tell you. And all the stuff you just named off is, it's all ridiculous, and it does need to be shut down. But probably, I don't know what's worse: the fact that they were appropriating money for that stuff, or more than likely that money was going straight to someone's pocket and the work wasn't being done anyway. Who knows? The way they've been wasting money, and really what we've uncovered is that large parts of federal spending is just a big Democrat graft machine, is all it is. And so that sounds like just another wing of their graft and corruption, and another way to rip off taxpayers with phony studies, trying to find excuses to take our rights away from us.
I bet Stacey Abrams got some of that money too, guys. Justin Moon. My gosh. Here's the question for you, Justin. Can Kennedy be trusted to stop this?
You mean our Health and Human Services Secretary?
Uh-huh.
Well, I think our Health and Human Services, I think Kennedy's, doing the right steps to try to take the poison out of our food. I think
I agree.
Probably hasn't gotten to the CDC part of trying to be anti-gun and putting out this crap yet. Kennedy has never been a real big supporter of Second Amendment rights, so I think the public needs to pressure him there on that point, and hopefully he can maybe sort out the direction he's been going. There's a president issued the order that the Department of Justice and ATF, he should probably add the CDC to it, should be supporting the Second Amendment and not harassing gun owners with public money.
Oh, you are dead spot on. And by the way, that letter was posted, Ryan Petty, by Gun Owners of America. And who was this that wrote that letter? Representative Diana Harshberger, Republican Tennessee, Brad. And 14 other reps were the ones that are urging in this letter, HHS Sec, Robert Kennedy, Ryan, to end this. So when you hear this, your thoughts, can he be trusted to do that? When I hear your response, I'll tell you why I think he can. But I want to hear what you have to say.
Mark, I'll say trust but verify. Look,
you go.
I agree with Brad. I think it was Brad that said a moment ago, I like what he's doing, right? I like the way he's approaching this. He's coming at his job at HHS with a fresh set of eyes and a fresh perspective, and he doesn't sound like the bureaucrat that normally would run that place. So I'm optimistic, but I think we've got to verify because, he's a longtime Democrat. And I guess the anti-Second Amendment runs deep within his soul. So we've got to make sure we keep good eyes on him.
Yeah, and remember, John F. Kennedy was a life member of the NRA and likely wouldn't be a Democrat today. I venture to say that. Maybe he would be, but the party left him. It's a completely different party. I'll tell you why I think he might move in our direction on this, because of Donald Trump. And because of Donald Trump's agenda. Donald Trump's agenda, he is very clear on his pro-Second Amendment stances, and I don't think you're going to see any pushback from anybody in the cabinet. I could be wrong about that, as always. But, Brad, I feel good about it. I'll let you close us out. Take us to the end.
I feel good about it, too, because, Donald Trump, he's an executive. And he is definitely wielding executive power. And, he just seems like the kind of guy that you're going to get your marching orders from. You're going to get his intent, and if you go against it or if you fail, then what's the famous? He made a whole TV show out of firing people.
Right.
That was So I would think that Bobby Kennedy knows that he toes the line, or he's going to be out on the street.
Yeah, I think they're all aware of that.
Wouldn't hesitate to do it.
I think they're all aware of his famous words, "You're fired." All right. Brad Primo, CEO of Lead Slingers, man, we love you. Thank you for being here and your time every single week. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms, thank you for being here and your support of Armed American Radio, of course. And Ryan Petty, again, a huge welcome to the roundtable as a regular member at the seat. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, tomorrow I'm going to try to be here. It depends. I'll be in a courtroom tomorrow. If I'm back in time, well, you'll see me on camera, likely in a suit and tie, which you never get to see, so you might want to tune in for that. Either way, Andy Hoosier will be here with or without me. All right, so make sure to tune in to Armed American Radio's Daily Defense tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense will get up and do it again precisely because they don't want us to. Hope you enjoyed the program today as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Thanks to all of our new affiliates around the country, hundreds of radio stations. We love you guys. Armed American Radio, as I said, we'll do it again tomorrow. Carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever done that. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. See you on the radio.
You've just filled your prescription for
All right, guys, thanks for being here today. Appreciate it very much. Like the posts, support the show, repost, retweet, whatever you want to call it. X, formerly known as Twitter, whatever it is. Repost the stuff. If you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Share it, would you please? We want your help, need your help in taking back our social media. If you're on Facebook, please do the same thing. 82,000 followers over there. We need to get it to 182,000, but it's a big following over there. 100% organic. Never bought one like ever over there and never will. So make sure to please support us there. If you're watching us on Rumble, thank you for doing that. YouTube, Rumble, and all that. If you're watching on Armed American Radio, thank you for that. And if whatever radio station you're listening on, well, you're not hearing this right now anyway because we're off the FCC airwaves, but you get the idea. So thank you for your support, guys. Appreciate it very much. It's going to be tight. I think I might be able to be here tomorrow, and it'll be kind of fun if you're watching because, like I said, I'll be in a suit and tie, and I certainly won't have time to change. So keep your fingers crossed. You might see me all decked out. I dress up pretty good, by the way. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the radio. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. See you tomorrow, guys. Take care. Thanks for being here. That's a wrap.
That is a wrap.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. I'm out of here.
I don't blame you, Holmes. Won't be long. I'm going to get these podcasts up. I'm out.
Yeah, I don't blame me either, man.
Yeah, so, dude, I had to run to Belk's today. I got upstairs and I was like, this ain't a fucking black jacket. I went to lay it back down. I'm like, that's a blue fucking blazer. Where's my black suit coat? Oh, shit. I bet it's still folded up. And it was. It was folded up in a suitcase. But I had to go get some new socks. While I was there, I picked up a new pair of shoes and another shirt.
Always happens.
Dude, when I wear a suit, I hate being buttoned up, bro. I hate tight collars and shit. So, I mean, I gotta have comfortable clothes, dude. You know what I mean? If I'm not comfortable in my clothes, I can't stand it. I hate form-fitting tight clothes ever since I was a kid. I can't stand that shit. It's uncomfortable as shit to me. And if I'm going to be in a suit, I got to be comfy, dude. So there's that. All right, Holmes, I'm out. I'll let you know tomorrow. I'll be in touch by text and let you know what I'm looking at time-wise. But either way, Andy will be here, okay?
All right, I'll keep an eye out for him.
Roger that, dude. I'll see you tomorrow on the radio, hopefully.
All right, see you.
Later.
Later.